Hey guys, welcome back to A Thrifted Home. Today we're going to be talking about first grade picks. My daughter is super excited to be starting first grade. She's got so much just exciting and fun things ahead for her this year. We are doing all of the basics. So we're doing phonics, the building blocks of reading. She is doing handwriting. She's got first grade math, which is, honestly really fun and just basic. In last week's video and in the week previous, we talked about some third grade curriculum and some fifth grade curriculum. I do have 4 kiddos. They are 10, 9, almost 9, 6 and 18 months. And we are a busy household over here. It's really fun. I love being a homeschool mom, and I love finding the curriculum for my kiddos on the cheap. I love a good bargain if I can find one. There are a lot of goodies in today's video, lots of good thrifted finds, also some really good alternatives to maybe some of the things that might overwhelm you, especially for first grade. I am a firm believer that you do not have to go all out for your children in order for them to have a really good and a really solid foundation for schooling. Kindergarten and first grade are those years that are really pivotal for a kiddo. They can be really stressed out and overwhelmed, and it will make learning really difficult, or they can be really excited and have a good foundation that lets them go at their own pace and just have their own autonomy in regards to their education. And I really think that that's super important for all kiddos, but especially when they're really young. We want our kids to enjoy learning. We want them to thrive, and we want them to have a really good experience with their education. And that can start as young as birth, but especially if you're talking about schooling and education and reading and writing and math and all of the things, you want that foundation to be really good and really sweet. Hopefully this video will give you lots of good options. If you're just feeling really overwhelmed with the world of curriculum, and honestly, if you're a homeschool parent who doesn't feel overwhelmed in the world of curriculum, I'd love to hear. I just love offering encouragement and hope and options to those of you out there who maybe like me have found themselves in a position where they're wondering how they're going to afford all of these things, or also wondering what even is important and what's not. What can I let go of in order for us to have a thriving life? So if that interests you, go ahead and stick around. Let's get into the curriculum. All right, so these little books are pretty much the bulk and the meat of her curriculum this year. So we have a BrainQuest workbook. I don't know how familiar any of you might be with BrainQuest, but I actually used, when my kids were pretty little, I used some of their preschool options that they had. But this for first grade basically just covers all of these essential foundational learning materials. So this is just a really great little book that she finds really fun to do. So she is learning, but at the same time, to her, this feels like just fun, exciting activity. It's a little bit different than sitting down and doing like a phonics book or a reading lesson, where to her that feels more like school. It feels like work. This, however, feels just more fun. She has been enjoying it. And this book I picked up at Ollie's for, I want to say $5, but they're very inexpensive. Elsewhere. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them, honestly, I think at like Target and Walmart. Also Barnes & Noble, I believe, carry these. I did the summer workbooks in between grades for my kids before, and those are also really fun. And next up we have Smart Start Read and Write. This is just an Evan Moore little book that you can find pretty much anywhere. Once again, I got this off of Amazon, which, I don't love buying things on Amazon, but I do have to admit I frequent that quite a bit because it's just really easy. So this book is split up into weekly lessons, which I really like. I don't necessarily do one unit every week. I kind of break that unit up, and then I use this as a supplemental tool to, it's very similar to like the BrainQuest book, or I'll show you in a little bit the other books that I use to kind of coincide with this. Now, these lessons are much more focused on language arts skills and specifically reading. I want to focus heavily on reading, specifically in kindergarten and first grade. Handwriting is really important, but reading becomes much more important in first grade. And I can do an entire video on my opinions and also just research-based understandings of how kids really learn best and what ends up making them feel really overwhelmed. These kinds of books I really love saving for the time that they're about 6 and older. This year will be the biggest leap that she makes educationally. So this is actually a good bit of focusing your brain to work together with reading and writing. So looking at letters, sounding them out based on how they look, and then learning how to write them. I like that these lessons are really short and sweet. They focus a lot on word families and then spelling, writing, reading, and then solving activities. So there's a lot of different things that are working together to sort of bring your child's attention to these specific, how these things work together in language. I want her to be able to focus on more of her writing and her copy work at this point in terms of penmanship, and then really focusing on reading and getting a really good phonetic foundation. I don't just like sort of outsource reading to just, memorize these words. I really want her to understand how language works, because that builds really good readers in the future. And here I have Explode the Code Level 1. I have never done Explode the Code with any of my kids, but I've always heard really good things about it. This one in particular, I mostly got because I found it for $1.99. And so that was really the main reason why I bought it, but also because I had heard really good things about it. So as I was flipping through it, I realized that I did have a lot of resources that basically covered something quite similar to this, but honestly, if I don't end up using this for her, I do have another little one that I could always save this for. And so for $2, I mean, you can't really beat it, can you? Moving on to some spelling. So, oh man, I could do a whole video on spelling alone. I have heard about this book and I've heard a lot of good things about it. But to be quite honest, I haven't dipped my toes into like a spelling curriculum, quote unquote, at all, for many reasons. But to spare you all of the details, I found this at my library for 50 cents. And I looked at it and I couldn't pass it up. I mean, it was 50 cents. And I think, this book has been around for quite a while. It's not new by any means, but yeah, I mean, look at that beautiful picture. Originally $22, I would say for 50 cents and getting a pretty comprehensive spelling guide for grades 1 through 8, that's pretty great. It tells you how to study a word. It also gives you appropriate spelling words for different grades. I'm not a person that sticks very closely to grade level rules. However, I will say, sometimes it's just really nice to have a guide, especially as a homeschool parent who has multiple children. Sometimes I just like to see what is standard. Yeah, I think that this is pretty great. It was a wonderful resource to stumble upon, and I'm just really glad that I did. So let's talk a little bit about phonics. We have her started on elemental phonics. This is level 1. This is just a great little book. If you guys haven't heard of JDA, on YouTube. This was her resource. So there it goes through 2-letter blends, 3-letter words, and then swiftly moves into some sentences. And she's been doing this. She really loves this book. It's super duper simple. This has just been such a great resource. Sometimes my daughter finds it really difficult to do some of the more intense phonics lessons or ones that just feel a little bit more like a load. And so these are just really super simple. And she picked this up really well, and we just love it. We picked up Phonics Pathways this year. So this is something that has come very highly recommended, and I can totally see why. We are in the middle of these 2-letter blend lessons, and my daughter just really loves it right now. This one I did pick up on thrift books for about $5, I want to say, $5 to $8. So for our reading this year, we are going through some Bob books. I did purchase pretty much the complete set of Bob books for my daughter when she was in first grade. So currently my third born is going through the kindergarten sight words. She's finishing that up, and then she'll move on to first grade sight words. I particularly like the Bob Books style, mostly for their sight words. So these are all going to be words that the kiddos aren't going to be able to sound out. So by sight words, we mean things that they need to just basically rote memorize. And then there are little books that they read along with them. I'm sure most of you guys probably know or are familiar with Bob Books, so I won't go in depth in explaining that, but she's currently working through that. And then I have these little reading literature books. So we're starting out with the primer, and then we're going to do the first reader. These are mostly just little fables and nursery rhymes, Mother Goose, etc. They're really cute. I just really liked the method of being able to read her little stories, and then as she gets more confident with reading, she will help me sound certain words out, and then eventually she will read these on her own. So the primer is obviously a little bit more basic, lots of CVC words or easy to spell, easy to sound out words. And then the first reader is a little bit more advanced, but you know, not by much. So she will be getting good exposure to reading with classic stories, which I love. There are 2 other sets in this book in this series as well. So we have the primer, first reader, and then I think second and third. So those are very cute. And here we have her copywork bundle. So this is really a very large portion of what she does in a year, in her school year. This is what I did with both of my other kiddos. And copywork, I think I had talked a little bit about that before, but copywork is really just the bread and butter of what we do. So obviously I went through and copied these things into this little dollar store notebook. And actually these are all from that reading literature, the primer book, this one. They're little excerpts from that. So she has to read these words every day. I help her with some of the bigger ones, obviously. And then she needs to copy it down, including all punctuation. And it really just allows kids to become exposed to punctuation, to sentence structure, learning how to space words out apart from each other. And yeah, she's currently working through those. So this is typically done every day, if not every other day. Here I just have a dollar store whiteboard. She's had this for 2 years now, and it is lasting us well. It's coming apart at the edges a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. I have some dry erase markers for her and an eraser, and she does lots of letter practice with this. When we do our reading lesson, our phonics books and things, sometimes I will have her write the words that she's learning or the letter blends. So she's getting good exposure to that. But this is really just useful for so many things. These are so cool. I bought these for my son actually last year. So my daughter is not currently doing these, but she will be working her way up to these with copywork. So if your kiddo is into art, they will love this. So they're getting reading exposure. They will copy this into a notebook, and then they get to draw what they're reading about, reading and copying. My son really, really loved this. And I really loved it because it gives them lots of exposure into art and drawing and creativity, but then it also allows them a little bit of reading every day, a little bit of writing and copying every day, and it is just really, really cute. They also have lots and lots of information in here. This is the river animals, animals and habitats, ponds and rivers, and then I have animals of the world, savannas, grasslands, mountains and deserts. I actually bought both of these secondhand, I think on Amazon. I just went through like secondhand bookstore sellers through Amazon, but I know you could probably find these on Thrift Books. I think I will probably end up getting several more of these over the years, just because I think that they're super versatile. I think I had my son doing these books maybe twice a week, but you could do these every single day. For sure, if your kiddo is really into that. Yeah, so these are great. There are so many of them in this series, so definitely check them out. Draw right now. And then this I also have for her. It's a Bible memory copybook. So she will be going through her scripture memory this year through this book. And I liked that this one had a little bit less to read and then to write. But yeah, it basically takes you through one passage, one scripture verse, you trace it, you write it, and then you draw a picture to illustrate it. And then it also has a section down here where you can sing. So I just thought that was really fun and cute. And this is just a really simple way to get them exposed, obviously through copywork, but exposed to some scripture verses and some memory. This just helps her, sort of like with my older two, they each have their own Bible work that they are working through in a given day or year, and so this is hers. So she has not started this yet. I probably won't start this with her until maybe the second semester, because she still has plenty of other copywork things to get through. So I'm not sure if we will do these this year or not. My son had great success with them last year, and that was his second grade year. So, you know, I might just use these for her in second grade, but they are an option for her if I feel like she's ready for them at any time. So yeah, copywork is a huge part of our day, and it is a really important element to their foundation of their education. So those are my first grade curriculum picks for this school year. I hope you guys really enjoyed. This will be my 4th consecutive year homeschooling, and honestly, I'm really stoked for this year. I did not cover specifically history and science in this video because we will be a part of a co-op this year, and like I said in my last couple videos for my other kiddos, yeah, we will be covering history, science, geography, and a couple other, art and music, things like that. We'll be covering all of that in our co-op. And if you guys want me to do a video about our co-op and the experience that we'll be having there, let me know. I would love to do a video like that for you if that's what you would want to see. But yeah, that's about all that I have for you today. So if you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up, give a like, give a subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys!